All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second and final part of today's show, we are going to talk about quarterbacks that will get paid at some point. Now, some of them I already talked about. Now, before I do that, I just want to remind you guys again, since, again, we're only doing two segments today. To tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about here in the second and final part of the show. And that is quarterbacks that, are in line to get paid at some point. Now, some of them, it's going to happen, this offseason. Like, you have Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, but you also have Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, and Jordan Love as well. So I know we talked about Dak Prescott, that there's a possibility that he could reset the market by asking for a $60 million contract extension, which I know someone did comment on. I think it was the segment, the show segment of that from this week, that it would be pretty ridiculous to give Dak a $60 million contract. And listen, I agree. I don't think he is worth that money. But the Cowboys do have to make a decision on that. If they're going to bring him back, pay him the money, or are they going to let him walk? Sorry if there's some background noise. My parents are getting ready to go on a little mini weekend vacation. Well, yeah, mini weekend getaway with some family members. So they're looking to get out now. So that's why if you hear them talking, that's what that is. But anyways, so with Dak, it's going to be interesting because, again, what is the alternative if they end up letting Dak walk? Which, because, look, the Cowboys have a lot of talent on their roster, which we talked about. But, at the same time, like, you let Dak walk. I mean, what are you going to do? Trade for somebody? So, I mean, it's not like you're going to have Tom Brady, or, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, guys that, want to be traded or free agents that you could just, pick up. I mean, you're not really going to get that. So I don't know what they're going to end up doing. If they end up giving Dak the money, then they do that. Jerry Jones is a big Dak guy, so they could lean to giving him the money. But yeah, so he is almost a $60 million cap hit in 2024, which is the second highest in the NFL. And in the article, it said how the Cowboys are projected to have a significant overage in salary. Overage in the 2024 salary cap is set at $242.5 million. So, we'll see. Again, if you end up paying Dak that much money, that contract, it definitely could hurt them in other areas where they want to try to improve. So, that's something we'll keep an eye on. So some of the other guys let's talk about the guys I didn't talk about yet, really, and that's, you got Jared Goff. He had a great 2023 season. He was, listen, he gave the Lions a playoff win for the first time in 30 years. That's something that Matthew Stafford wasn't able to do. Listen, when he was traded over from the Rams, it looked like he was going to be like a stopgap quarterback. It didn't seem like, he was going to be the long-term answer. Well, he played to earn that. And, now he's the guy moving forward. And, I'm happy for him. Because, for him, that had to be a lot to deal with. You get traded to Detroit, and the team the first year was not good. Um, and Matthew Stafford, obviously, in his first year with the Rams, he ends up going to the Super Bowl, and that definitely. And Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl with the Rams. They just couldn't get the job done. You know, but listen, I mean, they were on the doorsteps of getting to the Super Bowl. It's just they collapsed at the end against the 49ers. Um, so that's another quarterback that's going to get paid. I mean, and listen, they have surrounded him with a ton of talent, solid offensive line. Um, I mean, drafting Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, Josh Reynolds, another player that he was with on the Rams. Um, they and Jamison Williams, that's another guy that I've talked about where, you see the talent. It's just looking for that consistency. If they could shore up the defense and, maybe add another weapon, again, the Lions are going to be good for a while. It's just they definitely got to Dan Campbell's got to pull back on being aggressive at times and take the points. Because that was kind of one of the reasons why they did end up losing. I mean, I also think I don't know what happened in the second half where they just did not run the ball as well, but yeah. So he's another guy that could be in for a payday at some point. You also got Tua, who we've talked about. Whether the Dolphins are going to pay him or not, that remains to be seen. I think, listen, with the weapons that he has, again, he was solid, but I think he's another guy that I think is kind of going to be holding this team back from taking that next step. So you also got Trevor Lawrence, who could be in for a contract extension with the Jaguars. I mean, again, I don't know what happened with them. That was another team that just collapsed at the end of the season. I mean, they looked like they were a lock for the division. The offense was inconsistent, but again, they were winning games. So it was like, okay, again, it was the same thing with the Eagles. There were some things that you had some issues with, but they were working through it because they were trying to work through it, but they were winning games. But then you start losing games, and you're like, okay, well, that's you don't want that. And then they ended up choking away the division to the Texans, and yeah, so. But I think again, Trevor Lawrence was he had so many injuries. I mean, against the Bengals, I mean he was in concussion protocol. I believe it's just he got hurt at the end of the year, and I think there were other issues too besides that. But it just that doesn't help when your quarterback's playing hurt, and ultimately that just led to them collapsing at the end of the season. And next year's a big year for Doug Peterson. Because I think if the Jags again, if this ends up happening again, then he might be gone, and the division's going to be better. It is going to be better. With the full year of Anthony Richardson, if you're a Colts fan, hopefully he's healthy. The Texans, they're not going anywhere. I mean, we talk about the Titans. Titans beat them to finish off the season. But again, I still kind of rank the Titans last if I were to rank the teams in the AFC South. So, next year's a big year, and you got Calvin Ridley, who's a free agent. You're going to try to bring him back. Hopefully, Josh Allen, same thing. So, but yeah, so Trevor Lawrence, another quarterback, and then you got Jordan Love. Listen, Jordan Love, he was called out by the Packers. They were like, this is going to be the second half of the season is going to be crucial for him, and he showed out, played really well. Packers got close to making the NFC Championship game. They had another team that had the 49ers. But they fell a little bit short. But you know what? I mean, he after what he was able to do, in his first year as the full-time starter of the Packers, he did really well. I mean, there were some growing pains, but he ended up playing really well towards the end of the year, and the Packers look like they got another franchise guy with him. So he's another guy that definitely is going to be in for a payday. And the Packers have a young roster, so he's only going to continue to grow, and the players around him are going to continue to grow as well. So, yeah, and then, of course, You got Baker, you got Dak. Like I said, Baker, I mean, he's looking to get paid now because the season that he's coming off of. And I did talk about this week, about him being one of those guys that's kind of like a risk reward free agent. Just because again, you don't know if it's going to be sustainable. If that was just a 1 year thing, a 1 year wonder, but I think in the right situation, Baker can produce. Now, again, as much as I like Baker, I don't look at him as a top quarterback in the league. I think he's more of like middle of the pack, but more towards like the top 10. I mean, I wouldn't say. I think he's more of like the top half of the middle of the pack. He's not, you know what I mean. I hope. Um, but listen, played well. I mean, again, it wasn't in the middle part of the season. I mean, it's kind of like Jordan Love. Like started off good, then middle part of the season was rough, and then you finish the season strong. Well, I mean, beating the Panthers 9-0 wasn't finishing the season strong, but hey, they beat the Eagles, and then they only lost to the Lions by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So, um, I mean, we'll see. And obviously, I think if he goes back to Tampa, and I said this, if Mike Evans doesn't come back, that's big because I think part of the reason why Baker was successful is Mike Evans. And you lose Mike Evans, that's not going to be easy to replace. And of course, I have a Mike Evans jersey now, which I was, hesitant on getting one because I'm like, well, he might leave the Bucks. Well, I got it for Christmas, and now he might not be on the Bucks next year. So, again, that's just me with my bad purchasing of jerseys. That continues because I could tell you, listen, there's a ton of jerseys that I've gotten over the years, and you'll probably be like, why did you get that? Why? One of them is Martavis Bryant. In that closet right there, I have a Martavis. Actually, not in that closet. It's it's in something else. I have a Martavis Bryant jersey. Martavis Bryant, and you're probably like, why? And to be honest, I really don't know why. But I just thought he was going to be good. He was good for a bit, and I guess when he caught the touchdown in the playoffs against the Bengals and did that somersault. Uh, I might have said this before, but yeah, maybe it was because of that. I mean, you know, I was like, yeah, I want to get that jersey. He's good, but that with the Steelers that was very short. But yeah, Mike Evans might be the latest jersey that I get that you know he ends up going to another team. But you know what? Listen, wherever Baker goes, that's going to be a jersey I'm going to want. So you could say whatever you want to that, but Baker's going to be the next jersey that I want. A Baker Bucks jersey would be nice. Um, so, but yeah, so that's those are all the quarterbacks there that could be in line for paydays. I know some of them. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is I would obviously pay. Kirk Cousins coming off of the Achilles. You know, what kind of contract is he going to get? Dak resetting the market, I think, is a little extreme because he's, again, he's not the best quarterback in the NFL by a long shot. He is solid, but again, for him to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, I mean, yeah, I will see if the Cowboys end up doing that. Tua is another guy where it's like, are you going to pay him or are you not going to pay him? There's it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But and then also Jordan Love too, as well. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for the show for today. Again, I thank you guys for tuning in for both shows. Next week, back to the traditional. You know, well, Monday's gonna be back to the traditional. Hour show, just football. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, thank you guys for tuning in for both shows. So with that, that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys next week. Take care and enjoy the weekend.